So you may remember early on in the Biden administration, we actually filed a FOIA request. Hey, Biden administration, why did you remove the Houthis from the list of designated terrorist organizations by the Department of State? That was November 30th, 2023. And then, of course, do they respond? They don't respond to the FOIA, so we have to go into federal court in January, which we did. And then in the meantime, the Houthis are put back on the foreign terror list, and that's because they started firing at ships going through the Red Sea, and they were, again, they were firing on U.S. ships, international ships as well. And the U.S. has now said that they would consider revoking their recent designation of Yemen's Houthis as terrorists if the Iran-backed militants cease their shipping attacks in and around the Red Sea. President Joe Biden's special envoy for Yemen, Tim Linderking, I'm going to say it, maybe I said that right, Will? He said, my hope is that we can find diplomatic off-ramps. Now, again, the question is that all the Houthis have to do? I mean, Will, is it basically, hey, stop firing at the ships going through the Red Sea. You can continue to fire at our ally, Saudi Arabia. We've got U.S. troops that are about to be on the Gaza Strip to build that pier for humanitarian aid. We've got Iran upset. We'll get into that in a moment as well. And yet we're willing to take you off the terror watch list if you just stop firing missiles and rockets into ships trying to cross through the Red Sea.
This is the appeasement strategy of the Biden administration. We've seen it with how they treat Iran from day one, really how they've treated the Houthis since day one, because they wanted to reverse a Trump-era move of putting them on the foreign terror organization list that the State Department has. And you see it around the world, where weakness reigns supreme within the Biden administration. And even here where they talk about diplomatic off-ramps with the terror organization. Yeah. Keep that in mind. They're currently listed as a terror organization for them, and they want to find a diplomatic off-ramp with them. Since when do we start diplomatically negotiating with terrorists? Well, it's like after 9/11, if they went to Al-Qaeda and said, hey, you know what? We have you as a designated foreign terror organization. Don't fly any more planes into American soil and bring down any more buildings, and we'll take you off that list.
Yeah, I mean, this is Tim Linderking. He is the envoy to Yemen.
My hope is the envoy for Yemen is that we can find diplomatic off-ramps to find ways to de-escalate and allow us to pull back eventually the designation and, of course, to end the military strikes on Houthis' military capability.
And you also have to remember that as they're saying they want to find ways to de-escalate and end the military strikes, well, clearly the military strikes that they were doing weren't strong enough. They were tepid, because if the Houthis haven't stopped these attacks, they weren't crippled.
This would be the second time the Biden administration removed the Houthis from the terror list that the State Department keeps. They did this right away at the beginning of the Biden administration. Again, it looks like to try and play nice with Iran. And it would look like that would be, again, the same reason they would do it this time is that basically they want to make nice with Iran. We've got to get the Houthis off the list. So Houthis, please stop firing at the ships going through the Red Sea, and we'll take you off the list. You don't have to do anything else.
Look, here's the problem is that the Houthis are a terrorist organization. They've been causing havoc in the entire region. But the Biden team only decided to take action once they started attacking in the Red Sea. The Biden team just literally has a Red Sea focus. They're not concerned about the terrorist attacks in the rest of the region. And when they were added, when the Biden team added the Houthis, it was only because of the Red Sea attacks. Now what they're saying is, if the Houthis will pull back from Red Sea attacks, then they will remove them from the terrorist list. Really what the Biden team is saying, go do terrorism outside of the Red Sea, and then it will be none of our business. And I think that's a dangerous message. Under the Trump administration, we put the Houthis on the terrorist list for all of their action, their destabilizing action in the region, because the Iranians were giving them money and using them to really attack Saudi Arabia. Don't forget, they've attacked the UAE under the Biden administration. This has been an unbelievable move by the Houthis that has been unrestrained until they went into the Red Sea.
We were not clear why the Biden administration did this when they first came into office with the Houthis, and they immediately removed the terror label. And then they stuck it back on them when they started firing on the ships. And now they're telling them, hey, if you stop firing on the ships, you don't have to do it, stop your other terrorism, but stop firing on the ships and we'll remove the designation.
It's unexplainable to me. You said it's absurd. I think that's kind. Let's go back to the first principle. The Houthis, a bunch of tribesmen in Yemen who have money and sophisticated weapon systems and training that comes from the Islamic Republic of Iran, are terrorists. They're committing terrorist acts. They have committed terrorist acts. We seldom take groups off terror lists just because they stop for a month or a year committing terrorist acts, because we know they are still in their core terrorists. And so you have this exactly right. The Obama administration had refused to put the Houthis on the list of terrorists. We placed them on that list. And then within a week or two of the Biden administration coming in, they took them off. And now they're saying, hey, we'll do you a favor. You've already killed Americans. You've already caused Navy SEALs to have to jump in the water. You fired missiles into Saudi Arabia and the Emirates. You're attacking ships. But if you stop for a little bit, well, maybe we'll de-designate you. We'll say you're not terrorists. First of all, it'd be untrue. Second, it would be dangerous, because what comes along with this designation are lots of penalties and punishments, which the central aim of is to deter the Houthis. Frankly, when you get it wrong, Jordan, at the macro level, and you don't punish Iran, the Houthis aren't going to stop until it's in their best interest to do so. And taking this label of terrorists off of them isn't going to stop them from wreaking terror on the region.
Do you think the Biden administration is at this point, Secretary Pompeo, because of the loss of U.S. leverage? Like, it's just they've got nothing else to try, so we'll just tell them, hey, stop firing at the ships in the Red Sea, which is hurting everybody's shipping, and we will look past all that terrorism that you just mentioned. I mean, firing into other countries, firing at U.S. troops, and the terrorism they're committing in their own country as well. Their support, of course, from Iran. But if they'll stop doing this, that's enough for the United States right now, as you said, to take away a designation which is very serious, because it also punishes those who support your terrorism.
Exactly right. Yeah, I do think in part this is kind of, if all you have is a hammer, everything's a nail. And so they have this little piece of leverage and they're hopeful that that'll maybe cause them to stop. In the end, Jordan, you and I know the reality. The only thing that's going to stop them is going after the head of the snake, the Iranians, and then taking out their capacity. That is, going into Yemen through various means, not putting soldiers and sailors and airmen on the ground, but destroying their capacity to inflict this terror. We and our allies have the ability to do so. Those would be the two things that would really put this to bed. But sadly, they're going to take this half measure, and I'm confident that it'll do almost no good. I'll give you another great one that's connected. Remember, in Venezuela, the Biden administration told Maduro, we'll take off a bunch of the U.S. designations and sanctions if you'll allow there to be a full and fair election. You'll let your opposition be on the ballot. We did that. We lifted those sanctions. Maduro, of course, took all those people off the ballot. And you should know, Jordan, we haven't reinstated them. He's running willy-nilly. The Houthis see that. The Iranians see that. The Russians see that. This is an administration that has lost its capacity to deter because they're unprepared to do the hard work to protect America.